Hi everyone, welcome back to another video on this channel and thanks for tuning in again. In today's video I'd like to talk a little bit about beard contouring and especially two types of contours that you will maybe want to shave if you want to bring everything into position. So I will talk about the cheekline and the neckline, and I think those are actually the most popular types of beard contours that you will find when you do some research on the topic. And when I started out with my beard growth journey, those were the two contours that you had to shave. Everyone basically insisted on it, and it was the general consensus that you had to shave both or you would look scruffy. And to be honest, this is something that has changed over the years, and this is also why I want to give you my opinion on the topic, because I think that it does make sense for some people to shave their contours, and in other cases it doesn't make sense, or maybe it's a better idea not to shave every contour of your face. So first off, I'd like to give you some general advice on the topic. Let me just say that it's basically about what you find attractive and what you want to see on yourself. So you don't have to take any of this advice seriously if you just don't like the looks of it. That means if you don't want to shave at all, that's perfectly fine with me. You should just do whatever you feel comfortable with, because that's what it's all about in the end. So if you don't feel comfortable shaving, then don't shave. And if you want to shave everything and don't wear a beard at all, that's also fine. So do exactly that. With that being said, let me get to some general advice on the whole trimming thing. I personally like to trim only those contours of my face, and I have had the case where barbers actually also trim this part as well, because as you can see, the hair in this area tends to go a little bit in the horizontal plane. And that's something that makes my beard look stupid when I don't take proper care of it. So some barbers just go and they put their comb there and then they just trim it off. I gotta say though that this is somewhat of a hassle to deal with for me, because A, it's in a spot that I can't reach that well in terms of shaving, and also my hair in this spot is really dark, so I basically would have to shave every second day at least, because you will be able to see the stubble once the hair grows back. So how I deal with those things personally is that I use a round brush and try to put everything under my chin in the respective areas with a blow dryer. So in the morning when my beard is still damp from the shower, I just take this and I put everything into position that way, so I don't have to shave there and it still looks kind of okay. But in terms of shaving itself, I personally only shave my cheekline and my neckline, and something that I can recommend to you if you maybe try this for the first time, or if you are a little bit lazy on shaving, so you don't shave every day or every second day, but only every week or every 2 weeks, is that you first use, let me get this, a regular hair clipper for the rough part of the shaving. That means you should not start off by using a straight razor or maybe one of those multi-blade things, but first you should remove the bulk of hair with an electric razor, because yeah, the hair won't get stuck in the blade, and you can also work way more accurately with this because it actually trims exactly where you put it, and with a straight razor or a multi-blade razor that's not always the case. So first remove the bulk with an electric shaver, and then you can use a wet shave to do the details or to make your skin silky smooth and remove all the stubble. Just some advice that I wanted to give before I start off. Now in terms of the contours themselves, when does it make sense to trim them, and does it make sense to trim them at all? I personally would recommend that you almost always should trim your neckline, and you shouldn't trim it if you don't want to trim it at all and if you like the looks of it. But I personally find it way more clean looking, and it's way more, it makes way more sense in terms of the things that a beard can do for the proportions or the silhouette of your face if you trim your neckline on a regular basis. And what I mean by that is that a beard can, for example, hide your double chin, or it can actually make your jaw look more chiseled, or it can even make your cheekbones appear, although you probably don't have that strong cheekbones, or it can make your face look skinnier. And the reason behind that is that your eye perceives, for example, a person's face mainly in terms of differences between light and shadowy parts of your face. That means if your chin, for example, or the underside of your chin is darker than your face, then it will look like your chin is more chiseled, or it's a little bit more prominent than it actually is. And that's a look that you might want to be going for because it's perceived as being masculine and rough, and some people like to make their faces a little bit rougher than they actually are. But with all of this, it is vital that you have a clear contour of a shadowy part versus a light part. So if you don't shave, for example, your neckline, then there will be no clear cut between the light part, that is your neck, and the darker part, which is under your chin, for example, and the effect won't be as distinctive as you might want to have it. And of course, it might also look better in terms of the overall grooming of your face, or it might look just cleaner if you trim the contour instead of letting it all grow. So in terms of the position of your neckline, there is some room for variation. And I think the lowest part where it should be is where your head meets your neck. And as you can see, in my case, that's just right above the Adam's apple. And the reason for that is that, of course, your chin will then have the shadowy part under it, and the neck won't have that shadowy part. So you have a clear cut between your head and your neck, which will look more distinct in terms of your chin features or your jaw. Now, this makes perfect sense for medium to short beards, but the longer it gets, the more you might ask yourself, does it still make sense to trim the neckline? And I mean, of course, if you look at me like this, you don't actually see the neckline. And if it's just about this, I could probably just drop it and not shave anymore. But I personally also think that it's important if you look sideways, because then you will be able to see that there is, you would be able to see the hair growing here. And honestly, this is something that I just kept doing because when my beard was a little shorter, I somehow hit a stage where this hair right here was too curly and it looked kind of odd with the hair growing this way and the other hair growing that way. So I just kept shaving and I didn't really think about it that much. But I think in principle, you could just drop it and just keep growing after a certain length. As I said before, you do have some variation with this, so you could in theory put the neckline a little bit higher than what I just said to you. And you see this with some people, especially with shorter beards, that they put their neckline directly under their chin or maybe even on their jaw. And I gotta say that there is some limitation to this, because especially if you put it on your jaw directly, everything's fine as long as you keep your mouth shut. But as soon as you open your mouth and you start to do this, the skin will actually slip a little bit upwards and it will be stretched, and the jawline or neckline will move upwards on your face, and that might look stupid. So just keep that in mind if you want to go higher with your neckline, even if it's not a neckline anymore, if you trim it that high. If you have a short beard, I'd personally recommend that the highest position where you can put your neckline is about an inch, or maybe a size of your thumb inwards from where you can feel your jaw. So if you take both thumbs and you try to feel where your jaw is, there is an area where the tissue gets a little bit softer. again. So if you move away from your jaw, you might feel that, and that is exactly where the highest position of your neckline should be, at least in my opinion. Okay, so far that's everything I can say to you about the bottom contour of your beard, but also there is of course the top contour, which is often referred to as the cheek line. Now, as I told you a couple of years ago when I started growing my beard out, the general consensus was that you have to always trim both lines or you will look scruffy. And that has changed a little bit over the years, but just as a general recommendation, the cheek line still is the connection between the top of your ear and your mouth. So if I were to take this as an imaginary line, everything above that would be shaven and everything below that would be kept. Now the problem with that is, or not the problem with that, but in general it's a little bit tricky because, for example, in my case, you will be able to see that I don't have too much beard growth going on above that line. So there's a couple of hairs here and there, there's a patch of hair here, but apart from that, there is no consistent beard growth. And this is exactly the reason why I personally like to trim this line, because in all honesty it will just look stupid if there's 2 or 3 hairs growing from my eye downwards to my beard. So I just remove them and I'm happy with that. However, if you have a beard that grows higher on your face and you would typically exceed this imaginary line, then I don't see any reason why you should trim that or why you should remove the hair if it's a dense area, right? Because if you remember again about the shadow and lighter part of your face, that might actually help you in terms of what your cheekbones look like. Because if you have some shadow down here, it might look like your skin is a little bit, like your face is a little bit skinnier and like you have higher cheekbones, which is typically something that is perceived as attractive. And I can also show you a different example for this kind of effect, because a couple of years back I accidentally trimmed my cheek line a little bit too low, and luckily enough I have some video footage of that, and if you look at this video you will be able to see that I look pretty stupid because my face looks really round this way, and that's the exact opposite of what you would typically want to have, because me having this Amish people type of beard just looks like I'm basically really fluffy and fat, and that's honestly not the case. So yeah, you might want to think about if you actually want to trim that line if you have some growth going above it. If you choose to trim it, however, you basically have the freedom to do anything you like. You can keep it straight, like in my case. That's just because my hair grows this way and there is not too much that I'm doing to it. And you can also choose it to be curved, something that people in the Middle East, I think, like to do. You can even train yourself to do it with a multi-blade razor, and if you train to do it, there's also some stencils or something, but yeah, you can make it straight or you can make it curved. It's up to you basically. Anyways, that's about everything that I wanted to tell you. Just some general considerations when we are talking about beard contouring. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, please leave me a thumbs up, or if you have any questions concerning this topic or maybe other topics as well, just drop them down in the comment section. If you are new to this channel, you're of course free to subscribe. I will try to do some more beard related stuff in the future, just because yeah, the beard is obviously part of my daily grooming routine. And yeah, if you want to see that, you can also leave a comment. That's it for this video. So thanks for watching. I will see you next time, and bye bye.